Doghouse Racing League is proud to be sponsored by Shoney's. Shoney's is today's all-American kitchen, open daily for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Shoney's guests can count on quality, delicious food along with warm, friendly service. Stop by one of the West Virginia locations to try their freshly prepared legendary breakfast bars. And don't forget to take home a whole strawberry pie. Shoney's, delicious food and friendly service since 1947. Are you looking for sports merchandise for your favorite teams, apparel, jerseys, headwear, hard goods, and looking to be involved with NASCAR? Fanatics is your one-stop shop. Fanatics is partnered up with all major professional sports leagues, as well as hundreds of collegiates and pro teams. Join them now at Fanatics. And if you use the link down below in the description, you'll be able to help out the Doghouse Racing League. While using that link, all commissions go to the Doghouse Racing League, which helps fund prizes and goods for the drivers out on track. Thank you so much for Fanatics, and enjoy the show! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Thursday night. Drivers are prepared to tackle Atlanta Motor Speedway in Atlanta, Georgia, as the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series drivers get prepared for race number 3 on the schedule, as this 2024 Season 1's been a good one. But tonight, it's time to see more drafting action as they head towards the Autism Speaks 185 here tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway, the new configured Atlanta Motor Speedway, where you're able to draft. You're going to be on top of one another all night. The goal is survive the big one whenever it tackles here this evening. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me up in the booth is going to be Zach Hall. Also have Robert Moyer Jr. running productions in the background. Zach, third race of the season. We just got done with Daytona 3 weeks ago. We had Iowa last week, and now we're right back to more super speedway type racing here at Atlanta.
Super excited for tonight, Sam. This is going to be on the edge of our seat stuff here, folks. I'm telling you what, this track here, personally, you know, when they first made the announcement that the reconfigure of Atlanta Motor Speedway was going to happen, and we got the words of what it was, I was not a big fan of it. I'm going to be completely honest, and it took a little bit of time, but I think this track has really started to grow on myself, and I think a lot of people are starting to come around to it. I think the action that we see out here tonight is going to be really superb, and these next gen cars really know how to put on a show around this track.
These drivers, like we've had for all throughout this season so far, open setup. So these drivers have had all week to try to get the right setup, how to work with their teammates. And there are some strong teams that we already saw looking back to Daytona that we know are going to be heavy favorites. Team Axle, I would say that's probably the heavy team of Twisted Axle. That team's got to be strong, as well as watching out for the Loud Pedal Racing team. Those are going to be probably the two heavy hitters this evening. As we head down the trackside, get a little bit of a taste of what the track is like. These drivers still have about 4 minutes of practice left. They're all still trying to get those fine details of how to draft with one another. But Zach, a little different from what we got to see racing action last night of the Gen 4s racing here. What are we expecting, though, with these Cup cars, with this body package that we're going to be seeing here tonight?
I'm expecting a lot of pushing and shoving, that's for sure. That's one thing you didn't get to see much of last night, is the Gen 4 car not able to really, push with each other. But these cars, you can lock bumpers pretty much. It is a little bit dangerous, of course, in the corners, especially here at this 1.5-mile configuration of Atlanta compared to where, normally we're going to Daytona and Talladega, where they're over 2.5 miles. So the radius of those corners are much wider. It allows the car to much easily handle the banking in the corner of those tracks. This track much more tighter and much more acute, with it being, 1.5 miles and only a distance. So it makes handling that much of a bigger factor. So I think open setups will come in that much more, but also just a lot of pushing and shoving, I think, is what we're going to see tonight. And I think you could see, personally, all 3 lanes even work too.
All 3 lanes expected to be utilized at some point here tonight. The big question is going to be, when do you want to make that judgment call of, forcing it 3 wide, or do we stay 2x2 for a long duration of time? Again, tonight's race going to be 120 laps in total, no stage break, no fast repair, and only 3 sets of tires in pit road to work with. We'll see how well they can keep it together with also the tire wear here this evening. As looking at, one of another factor that we haven't touched on a lot, we talked about fuel last week, it being at only 70%. But super speedways, the fuel is at 100%. So they could allow these drivers to stretch their fuel just a little bit longer than maybe they were thinking about at other courses that we head to.
That will be an interesting factor here, Sam. I think they should be able to do 60 laps here. So we could be looking at a one stopper if we do go green here, folks. So that'll be an interesting factor to see play out if we can keep it green at that point. I mean, this track, it's so tough. You can go for a while green, but at some point, push comes to shove. The handling starts to become a factor, especially in these open setup side of things where, a lot of times I feel like on the thick setup side here in Atlanta, we're a lot of times dealing with that right front wear really being the huge problem with the race car. I think you could see maybe a little bit of a more loose condition tonight with a few people getting maybe a pretty aggressive with those setups.
Also, with tonight's race, these drivers going to be having 34 drivers signed up for tonight's racing action. Track position is going to be key, and that's what we're starting to head towards with a minute and 15 seconds left in practice. These drivers will also be having to tackle and handle in qualifying to get that track position to be up front. And looking at some of the past races that have been ran here at this configuration of Atlanta, it's only been ran 3 times in the last 3 years. As each year they've had 3 different seasons, and the last 2 races back in the 2023 season 3 and 2023 season 1, the driver that got the pole award led the most laps but did not win. Actually, the last 2 races, the driver that won the race only led 1 lap. It was the last one that mattered, and that's something else that we could be seeing here tonight. That white flag is going to be so critical. Who can survive the wrecks, the bumps, the moves, because those last 5 laps to go, sometimes the final 2 laps to go, the racing action just flips a switch, and drivers sometimes, you could say, lose their head at times on what moves they're trying to make to get up front.
They definitely can. It really can flip its switch very quickly. And, 1 lap, that's all it takes, Sam. So I'm not surprised to see that stat it's kind of the MO of this track. It's really, a lot of riding around trying to make sure you survive and in hoping to be in the right position to position yourself to go for that win at the end of this thing. So we'll get to see if that possibly plays out again, or do we see someone actually, show domination with the setup, because the twisted axle guys, they were so strong at Daytona. I'm interested to see if they can bring something similar here to Atlanta.
Hoping to bring it all together here tonight as drivers getting done with practice. They head down to qualifying. They've got 5 minutes in total, put down their fastest lap time, but they only have 2 laps to do so. If you hit the wall, go into the grass, you will be finding yourself with an incident point, which will invalidate your lap time. So these drivers got to find very neat ways to find that extra little bit of speed here tonight on the 1.5-mile surface of Atlanta Motor Speedway. For the Autism Speaks 185. First couple of drivers getting out there on track for their first laps on course. And it's going to be Bill Gentry in the Ford machine. We're going to be seeing for the first time hitting the course. And with 2 laps, Zach, going to be interesting. Are drivers searching for the first lap or the second lap to be their money lap time?
I believe it's going to be that second lap, Sam. If it serves me right, I think just this place with it being only 1.5 miles, it does take a whole extra lap to get up to speed compared to Daytona and Talladega. We could sometimes see that first lap be the quickest lap. But I think here tonight, you're going to see a lot of guys do what Bill Gentry is looking to do, running up near that top side, getting the longest distance around this Atlanta Motor Speedway to try to wind up these restricted engines with that, that lower horsepower with the restrictor plate on it. So as he comes off of 4 here, you'll probably see him start to guide that car to lower down the track and try to shortcut the distance here. As you'll see here, come to start that second lap, which this one should be the flyer.
First lap going to be Mike Leftwich. Fast time for the first lap going to be a 31.439. See if these drivers can bounce forward past that 60 machine, as staying low, hovering at that red line, going to be the critical point for these drivers of how close do you want to get down to that line through the corners. As Gentry gets a little bit higher than I think a lot of these drivers are maybe aiming for, but keeping it close, cutting down the apron. That is fair game here for qualifying. And across the line, Mike Leftwich is the fast driver for now, but will it stand as a couple of other drivers are looking fast, but Gentry second on the board currently after a handful of drivers just finished their second lap.
St. Cord jumping up to third position is now Jonathan Jennings, last week's winner from Iowa, up to the top spot there with a 31:019. So great lap time there, but very close lap times up front.
Extremely close on the times, and gonna be Jonathan Jennings now top of the board. Jennings was the last driver to get a pull at this track and led the most laps, led 93 of 149 laps at the end of last season for the 2023 season 3. And hoping to maybe keep that stand up front. 22 one-thousandths of a second faster than Mike Leftwich. As we watch Daniel gonna be Wilkerson, excuse me. Right now, the last driver to win this race, hoping to find some good speed again. Didn't lead a lap until the very last one last season to win this race. Maybe can find that little bit of extra inkiness speed. It's across the line, hoping to be the fast driver for Wilkerson. First lap, going to be the slowest of anyone's first attempt. So taking it easy was the 78, hoping for a big jump up on that second lap.
Yeah, he's looking for that big jump up, like you said here. And we'll see a few others coming through here. This is going to be the 38 machine, the Hanneman. So he's going to come across the line and see if he can pick up his time. It'll be 26th. That's going to come around to start, actually, his second lap here. So that first lap, not enough speed. Looks like Justin McMahon's going to jump up to second, though, here.
Going to be jumping up to second is McMahon, as Hanneman going to be trying to find that extra speed, sticking low. Cruising as fast as this 38 can go, was one of the slowest drivers on that first lap. Hoping to find that extra speed, dips down low on the apron and across the line from 29th, hoping to bounce forward and will be up to 10th for this 38 machine. Not as fast as they were hoping for, but here's a driver that we know has speed. It's going to be the 56 of Adam Gardner. Got the pole, had one of the perfect speed weeks you could ask for to start the season off. Gonna be 22nd on the board after that first lap, and hoping for the pole here at Atlanta.
See what kind of speed he carries here in the threes. He's going to have to get very close to that line. A little bit off the white line. Going to actually touch it there for a slight second, wash off of it. But here he comes to the start-finish line. Let's see what type of pickup he'll get. He doesn't cut it as far as others. 31.145 for him. So that's only going to put him up to 17th. So maybe a little bit of disappointment from that team.
Not as much speed as was hoping, as 4 drivers deciding to stay in pit road and not even go for an attempt. That's going to be the 2, Tony Martin, Kevin Brown, Steve Gerber, as well as Ricky Hodgins, going to be the 55. Decided to just stay in pit road. 30 drivers qualified, and Jonathan Jennings will take that top spot in the pole. And once again, going to go back-to-back, taking the pole here at Atlanta. Did it last season, does it this season, and hoping for the speed to continue forward. Again, leading over half the laps last season. So dominance up front, knows Jennings, and hoping for that consistency and at least get the win here tonight. Go back-to-back for the season after winning last week at Iowa. As qualifying is officially done, it's time for us to take a look at the starting grid for tonight's race, the Autism Speaks 185. If you'd like to go help out with the autism community, go to autismspeaks.org. Go donate today for great helpful service. As your Group 6 Inc. starting grid, going to be Jonathan Jennings in the 91, taking the pole award here tonight at the Autism Speaks 185. Justin McMahon going to be in second, with Mike Leftwich in third. Christopher Norris, strong start last week, not the strongest finish though, going to be starting in 4th place here tonight. Andrew St. Coeur is going to be in 5th. 6th goes Gary Clune. Bill Gentry in 7th, with Chris Leftwich in 8th. Kevin Thompson, fast driver who knows how to be quick here, back in 2023 season 1, led the most laps during that race, but it's going to start all the way down in 9th, and it's Raymond Henneman going to be starting in that 10th place position.
Starting in 11th, it's going to be the 7 of Gary Armia. Starting in 12th, it's going to be Michael Mecca. 13th is going to go to Nicholas Atwood. 14th position is going to be held by Matthew Campbell. 15th is going to be past winner here, Daniel Wilkerson. 16th is going to go to the 22 of Michael Hayes. 17th starting position is going to be the 56 of Adam Gardner. 18th is going to go to the 36 of Harrison Whitehead, with 19th position being held by Jamie Horn. And rounding out the top 20 here in qualifying, it's Eric Anderson.
Then we're going to be seeing in 21st position, it's the 27 of Christopher Simon. In 22nd spot, Eric Warman in 31. 23rd, we find the 9 of Stephen Bonomo going to be hoping for a good launch up front. Richard Leclerc going to be in 24th. 25th, we find the 14 of Mark Dumont. Eddie Rivers in 26th. It's going to be seeing Michael Dow going to be in 50 machine in 27th. Nicholas Schell in 28th. Gary Maydew going to be in 29th. Then it's Joe McKnight in 30th, finishing out our last 4 drivers, deciding not to qualify. It's going to be the 55 of Ricky Hodges, going to be that 31st position. 32nd is Steve Gerber. Tony Martin in 33rd. In 34th is Kevin Brown in the 33 machine. 34 drivers taking the green here, Zach. Going to be a fun one. No stage break again, but 120 laps. Every race that they've ran, they've changed the distance on these drivers, but that's a lot of laps they got to run. Curious on how they're just going to decide to run these first couple of laps, knowing how large this field is.
That is a huge question in my mind too, Sam. I'm interested to see if they're going to get wild, because we know they don't have no stage breaks, so there's no bonus points to be handed out there. I think you could see a little bit of calmness here early on and just a filling out process. So we'll see who's on the aggression side of things and turning up the wick, and who are the others that are trying to get out of the mess and not try to be part of no incident here early.
I want to say thank you to everyone that's joining with us for tonight's race, Thursday night coverage of the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. Also, shout out to Shoney's, Group 6 Inc., and Fanatics for sponsoring the Doghouse Racing League. Green flag is out for the Autism Speaks 185. Jonathan Jennings, the 24, Justin McMahon, going to be side by side as they roar down into turn number 1. It's the outside lane with the better run, but a lot of spacing. Watch out for the backstretch for the run from 4th on back.
4th on back, like you said, looks like they're building up some momentum on that top side, and we'll see here early how much does the lanes play a factor. I think early here we'll see that outside lane be a very big advantage to a few drivers out there. It looks like Christopher Norris might have lost disconnected there from that lead from the second position. That's going to cause an issue if he don't come back soon. But right now Jennings holding on to the lead here early as the outside line flies by.
Christopher Norris going to throw it right into pit road. Huge connection issues for the 83 machine. But up front, Jonathan Jennings and the 91 able to cruise on by. That's a big scare for the field, but luckily the 83 was able to get out of the way. There was no collision after an internet issue. As the field, lap 2, goes on through an outside lane. Already some drivers getting close to that outside wall. Don't want to brush it in the center of the corner. That's going to be massive loss of speed. The field searching where to go, and already seeing 2 packs starting to be defined here. As our top 21 drivers all up front, it's going to be 22nd on back, deciding let's just take a break, give some space for now.
Yeah, like you said, that from there on back there, giving some space, but right now this outside line looks like a lot of drivers trying to gain some track position. And think about this place, we can talk about Daytona and Talladega. It's very similar, but there's someone up flying to the wall. Unsure who that is. It looks like it's Kevin Thompson in the 6th machine as he's dropping back, losing a ton of spots. And if you get into the outside wall, you lose so much momentum here. He pretty much went from inside the top 10 where he's going to go almost outside the top 30.
Yeah, that outside wall is a magnet. It just wants to grab onto you and does not release until you finally are almost to the exit of the corner, and losing so much time from battling inside of the top 10. And now 29th is Kevin Thompson. Also an update on the 83. Christopher Norris has disconnected. Just trying to reconnect back into the server at this moment. As our biggest mover of the drivers that are inside of our top 10 actually going to be Harrison Whitehead, up 11 spots. The 36 is on the move, and it's just outside of our top 5.
Big moves for sure, and you can do that at this track. It gives you the opportunity and availability to really move forward, but you have to be careful. Again, I was just about to bring up the factor. This is similar to Daytona and Talladega where you can draft, but the handling becomes so much more of a factor here, and tire wear more critically than anything. If you got here and just overcook these tires, you're going to be struggling for grip later in the run, and as you go farther, you may actually fall in jeopardy of losing the pack. So you got to be smart, save your equipment, but also not get in a terrible position also when it comes to track position.
Looseness causing trouble for some of the drivers in the back. Early emergency pit stop for the 55 of Ricky. Zach looked like a driver getting loose out of the exit turn 4 2 laps ago. Gets in the outside wall. Too much damage. Forced into pit road. Hate to see that early on for a driver that was just taking it easy in the back.
That is very tough to see. And, I thought this would be something we start to see. As it looks like a condition for Mike Leftwich there of connection issues. Hopefully no problems there for him. He's riding aboard with Justin McMahon, who's lost a good bit of track position here after qualifying well, but think handling is just going to become such a big factor here tonight that, you know, how do you have your car set up? Is it meant to turn so you're burning the right rear up, or is it a little bit on the tighter side where at least you're going to be more stable and more committed? That's the question. Which one has more speed? And I think these guys are going to be playing with fire here as we get farther into the run to see really whose balance is what.
Whose balance is where, and also who's willing to move up front. Currently, it's the newcomer, Matthew R.D. Campbell, deciding to take the point. Joined up this week and first race of the season, having a pretty good run for himself and continuing to try to stay up front and show to these drivers in this league when it's your first race at a super speedway and it's just the third race of the season. I mean, showing out and proving that you can be a front runner and be up front, it's a huge trusting moment, I think, for this league and for that 82 machine.
It really is. This is always good. It gets you a little bit more confident in yourself, and people also will learn a little bit more about you quicker with you being up here saying, well, maybe that's a person I need to work with. He's showing speed. And I think that's another thing with the open setup races too. You get to find out not only who the good pushers are, so to say, but you get to find out which cars are the best pushers out there. These setups are going to make big differences when it comes to speed. And if you can find that right duo to work with, so to say, that could be the person you want to be with late in this race.
Some drivers got into the wall and have fallen back and trying to go on some recovery runs. Talk about Kevin Thompson, fell all the way down to 29th position. Has just cracked back into the top 20. And also another driver that's fallen back. It's going to be Christopher Simon in the 27th. Lost the draft to the lead after getting the wall 3 laps ago. So already major handling issues are starting to prove for drivers that are in the middle of the lead pack. Falling and losing the draft is very possible, as Simon's going to be trying to fall back to the clutches of Joe McKnight and also Tony Martin and Steven Gerber. Decided to just fall back and be around 9 seconds off our leader. It's not a bad place to be, especially with how this front lead group is running. They're just taking it easy, 2 by 2, but with handling issues that could be creeping up here in the next 20 to maybe 15 laps, these drivers got to be careful.
They really doing another one into the wall right ahead of him. As you can see, as Jamie Horn jumping down to the bottom lane there in the 98 machine. Things are starting to transpire more and more, and again, that's only going to happen more as the tires start to wear. So starting to see more people up into the wall. Actually, there's going to be a huge stack up now. They're wrecking.
They're going to be wrecking in front, and watch out. It's the big one off the exit of turn 4 as the field's trying to slow down. You speed up, get by the wreck. They're still trying to full point forward. And in an instant, they go from 2 by 2 to a small checkup, and now 3-4 drivers with required damage. They're heading to pit road. Eric Warman, the 31, Eric Anderson, Richard Leclerc, and one that had a major issue, Harrison Whitehead, our biggest mover up front, now caught up in this mess.
Exactly, Sam. Harrison Whitehead, that 36, that's where it all started, right in the middle of 3 and 4. And, with him being the biggest mover, I'm not too surprised by seeing this issue for him, because the longer you go on this run, the more that tire's going to wear, and you can see the outside line is just pushing higher and higher. Harrison gets in the wall first, but that's going to bounce the cars off of him on the inside and cause this major collision here.
Major collision, and you can just see the aftermath. Everyone's trying to get through the mess. Leclerc gets into Armiel. They're still sliding around, and some drivers are holding the brakes. Others are just trying to drive through the mess. And again, it was a 36 machine who was the kind of catalyst, who's currently in 11th, who also has required damage, has to go into pit road, and just now is entering. But seeing some drivers locking it up once they see their wreck, others trying again drive their way through an incident. Sometimes it works out, other times it can backfire in an instant.
It really can. Sometimes, it's just really the luck of the draw sometimes. So we'll see who comes out of this unscathed. But yeah, it looks like there was 3 cars, I believe, Sam. Yeah, 3 cars with required damage. That's going to be, of course, Harrison Whitehead, like we said there, the 36, Eric Anderson, and Eric Warman. But I think Harrison Whitehead already has his gone away. So that's interesting to see.
It really much is. So they're going to be clearing black flags for these drivers, with some having to drive into pit road to avoid that wreck. There were some penalties that race control decided, let's get that cleared up and out of the way. 3 drivers, though, decided to stay out on track. That's Mike Leftwich, Joe McKnight, and Tony Martin decided to stay out on track. Just topping off on fuel, going to be Matthew Campbell, as well as Nicholas Atwood. And looks like deeper in the field, going to be Gary Maydew just topping off on fuel. That's an interesting call by those drivers. Knowing that you only have 3 sets of tires in pit road, trying to maybe have a little bit of an extra set later on tonight.
I kind of like that actually. The sets of tires are going to be helpful. In this track, you would think it's not too big of a deal with tires, but when you make a super speedway on a 1.5-mile circuit, the tire wear becomes that much more critical, and I think it's only going to mean that much more. So a few of these guys who saved those sets here early, they could be coming back around later to say, hey, I got the availability to get this grip and run wide open around everybody.
Getting ready for this restart as those drivers up front going to be Mike Leftwich and Matthew Campbell. But looking at the drivers, all had to come in and stayed a little bit extra, maybe trying to get repairs done for themselves. Crazy looking at the number, looks to be from about 17th all the way down to 34th. Our drivers had to stay in for just a smaller, longer duration of time to get repairs done for themselves. The big chunk of drivers is around 11. That's from 23rd to 34th. Had to stay in for over 30 seconds to get damage repair done, and it's a big chunk, Zach, of drivers that now are dealing with damage. But like we've noted on these Gen 4 cars, these next gen cars, they're tanks when you hit them in certain spots, but they are very weak when it comes to the front bumper and also the wheel wells.
That is very right. That front bumper, very well known to exit the front clip, so to say, and leave you. And them side rights are really any tire is just known for the toe linkage being broken. And if you're going to get one of those, you're going to want the toe linkage just because that's a quicker repair, and your car will usually somewhat come back in pretty decent condition after that toe link is fixed. Sometimes that nose clip fixing it can get a little bit hairy, and you never know how well the car is going to be after it's all said and done, and even if you had any engine damage. So that's really why we want to stay away from that nose damage, so to say. But, this car is definitely, like you said, a tank, but it does have its weaknesses deep down and built inside.
As the field is seeing the lights now are off the pace car, we're going to be going green this time by. As 29 drivers will be on the lead lap, still getting repairs done is Eric Anderson, Eric Warman, as well as the 55 Ricky in pit road. Heavy damage for those 3 machines. Christopher Norris is back out on course, but is 3 laps down. But he should be getting back up to 30th with the amount of drivers that are currently still in pit road getting damage to repair. Old tires versus new. How are the 3 drivers deciding to stay out? That's the 60 machine of Mike Leftwich, that of Nicholas Atwood, Joe McKnight and Tony Martin with Mike Leftwich. Those are your 3 drivers. How are they going to be able to survive with a 14-lap difference? We'll find out here on this restart as the Autism speaks. 185 is about to get back underway. Pace car makes the hard left-hander to pit road. Mike Leftwich takes the lead as everyone groups up into the restart zone. We're back to green flag action, and already huge push by the 19. Atwood wants to get rolling now.
I feel like Atwood got a better restart than with Mike Leftwich. He at one point I thought was going to go around them, but great push, and look at the separation of the field here. This is going to cause some pretty big runs here to form. Sam is now the 51 to Joe McKnight up the inside and see what he can formulate, but the outside lines where it's coming from the bump almost ricocheted that 82 into an incident.
Ricocheted, but that's what these next-gen cars are able to do. You're able to make those massive bumps. If you're centered up, you're going to be able to push the driver forward. And just like that, Nicholas Atwood takes the lead. Campbell giving the shove. We look at drivers with the fresher rubber. First driver actually is going to be the 91 of Jonathan Jennings. Took 4 tires on this pit stop. We'll check that 91 machine as well for the 12 of Andrew St. Cours, who we know can be quick, as we've seen in past races that we've covered here for the Doghouse Racing League. But Atwood looks strong, but Mike Leftwich has the run on the inside, exiting out of 4.
The bottom side always, in my opinion, at some point comes around to be the best side, but the big moments right there is Atwood getting the push from Matthew Campbell. I don't know if it was a block or just the hit that shoved the 19 on the track, but that was a wild, close moment there from the first second is the inside lane. Like I said, pull strong here down the back straightaway. Let's see if the outside can fight back there.
Already bumping and banging, a lot more aggressive here in these first couple of laps than even when we saw the first 5 laps of this race. They're starting to ink forward, but the front stretch, such a tricky place when you're trying to give the bump. You're hoping to get that extra speed right before, you exit out of turn 4, maybe give an extra bump on the entry of turn 1. But Zach, everything in the middle, that's the danger zone when you're crossing the start-finish line.
It really is. you know, the this track has got some really crazy features to it, and when they first laid it out, again, I was not the biggest fan. I just didn't think this would be successful. But again, it's just added so much character to this style of racing, and it's almost got an old school feel to it. Is now look at this wild moment as McKnight says, "Nope, left wedge, get out of here." He's in the middle, 3 wide. That's going to almost shove the 19 up into the outside wall, and this is going to create a big stack up.
I mean, they were having 2 separate different incidences, and Atwood into the outside wall. He was struggling for the past lap and a half off the exit of the corners, and he'll go from battling for the lead all the way outside of the top 20, and then up front, it's Chris Leftwich, son of Mike Leftwich, who takes the lead over Joe McKnight as they continue to beat and bang for 3rd place. This is relentless, and we still have less than 100 laps to go here tonight.
That's what I say. We ain't seen nothing yet. This is exactly the show these cars can put on here. And it's really, in my opinion, this combination of these two, it's kind of unmatched. It's hard to beat this combination, just have how this car drafts with this package and how it races around here. It gives the ability for drivers to run the top, the bottom, anywhere they can find speed and find grip, they're going for it.
I got a little bit of a mix-up with our schemes on screen as the 23, the Shells Pennzoil, you see running in second. That's actually going to be the 34 on our ticker of going to be Michael Menchaca, who's now going to be bouncing to the outside. So sorry for the confusion there. Puts the wrong scheme on for Trading Paints, and now we get to see the 23 for the 34 on the outer groove, taking the point, moving forward. It's going to lead lap 23 heading into 24.
Oh, and that was almost close. He almost took the outside lane down into the inside lane. Sometimes that can happen where the drivers are, focused so hard on drafting the car ahead of them, they follow that car ahead, even when that car changes lanes, and it causes the lanes to merge together and causes an incident. So great job for McKnight not to come fully across there and cause something bigger.
Not making anything too big of a mess just yet, but still trying to move forward. And other drivers, I'm noticing, they are not wanting to work with Mike Leftwich, it looks like. It's continuously seeing drivers wanting to dip their nose underneath the 60 machine, trying to figure out ways to go forward. And speaking of which, disappears is Mike Leftwich right in front of Steven Bonomo. And now the 9 has to give space because he's unsure where Mike Leftwich went, if that 60's going to return or not, but the 60's been gone long enough. This 9 has to trust that he can move forward. No, it comes back and wrecks right in front of the field. Oh, no.
That is so scary, Sam, and it's almost similar condition to what we've seen kind of with Christopher Norris, the way he blinked out. Luckily, he was able to get, out of the racing surface, but when you come back like that, sometimes when you disappear, sometimes it's in the worst spot ever, and it was.
That was right in front of the 2 machine. Tony Martin, where the 60 just blinked right in front. We're not going to be able to really see a clean picture of this staying on board with the 60, but he blinked right in front of the 2. And he's gone for over a lap and a half, it felt like. He's just gone. This is the picture that we get to see because when a driver disappears, it just puts us in the scenic view, and then when they blink back, they just randomly show up, and the 60 just shows up in front of the field and neck codes his way into spinning right in front, and we'll bring out our second caution of the day. And those are one of those circumstances when you're gone for that long. Usually the courteous move is you move to the apron or you let off immediately, try to get to the back of the pack. But when, it's so difficult to make that judgment call, Zach, because for the driver that disappears, they see the whole entire field disappear on their screen.
Exactly. It's a weird feeling. I've had it happen to myself one time before where, the whole field just disappears and you're kind of like, what do you do? And I've even seen it before where it's happening a restart and someone comes back and they're going and they hit the cars ahead of them because they're going, because the restart there's nobody there in front of them. So it just is sometimes the unfortunate business of racing online. you're going to have internet issues. And right there, that one reared its ugly head, and unfortunately, it ended up being a problem.
Going to be bringing out our second caution of the day as we're about to be marching closer to lap 30 of this run. And with Mike Leftwich's incident, he will be required damage, forcing the 60 into pit road. This also gives time for drivers that were caught up in our first wreck, the first big one that happened for this field, able to get some repairs. That first big one happening on lap 14. And now we're going to be seeing these drivers get some service done for the likes of Justin McMahon, Michael Hayes, Whitehead. We have lost a few drivers, though, of Richard Leclerc and the 55 of Ricky have called it a night for both of themselves. And I'm not surprised both of them had some very heavy damage. They're just going to be calling it a night overall for themselves.
Yeah, there's been a few cars that have collected some heavy damage, so to say, from the start here already, and we're only 28 laps in, so it just shows you this. That's why this place, in my opinion, is a survival race still. There is only really 3 lanes of good racing ability, and I mean, you can do 4 wide. We've seen it in the real NASCAR Cup race. It's possible. You can get through the corner. There's enough space, but that's about it, so there's really not much space for when things do happen to get out of the way, and that's why you're going to end up with a lot of damaged race cars. So that's why it's always just, in my opinion, been much more of a survival race than anything at first, to where, you could say I need to do all this and that and follow all these strategies. But at the end of the day, you need to be, making it to the last 20 laps to have a shot even here. So we'll see who can get through this gauntlet of a race, but that's how it's become now.
I want to say thank you to everyone that's joining with us out in the chat that have already messaged. Got a couple of people rooting on for some teams. We've got the Street Limit Racing team being cheered on. Also, people rooting for Twisted Axle and hoping for the best for Richard Leclerc, Mark Dumont, and hoping for Chris Simon to get out there on course. Simon's been lucky with some of these wrecks that have caused him to get back up front with a chance. Going to be inside of the top 10. But we are back to green flag racing. It's Michael Menchaca going to be getting a huge push from the 8 of Chris Leftwich. On the outside, it's the newcomer of Matthew R.D. Campbell, working the outside groove and hoping last season's champ, the most dominant driver, Jonathan Jennings, makes the power move to push him forward.
Very interested to see when Jennings will try to, get up here and maybe try to lead this race. He's set on pole. Clearly has a fast race car. We'll just have to see if that car can work well in the race conditions, because we've seen always that just because you got a fast car in qualifying, especially in super speedways, does not mean that car is going to handle the best. Right now, that outside line rolling with Chris Leftwich taking lead with the push from Campbell, and here comes Jennings, as I spoke about.
Making the moves, diving it down low, no longer going to be in that bumper of 82. But Campbell got a big enough shove from Jennings that going to have a front bumper, and another driver that we know can be very aggressive. We talked about the last couple of weeks about how Chris Leftwich is aggressive. Jamie Horn also is another driver that's willing to make some power moves. And now Christopher Simon, who at one moment was off the pace from the draft, got into the wall during our first 14 laps of the race. He's inside of the top 10, all about to crack into our top 5 here.
This is getting very close with some side drafting here going into the entry of the corner. And like you said, got some aggressive driving here. But, I mean, again, you got to drive aggressive here, Atlanta guys. It's going to be like that for majority of the night. And I think having the aggressive tendencies will put you actually in a really good position here to do well. As you see farther back, looks like a driver farther up the racetrack. Again, that's Kevin Thompson. He floored it with the outside wall earlier. He's doing that once again. It's going to be 3 wide back there around the 12th position as he's trying to go around Hanneman.
It's the blend of the red machines, as Kevin Thompson able to get by Henneman as well, now trying to set up to get by Gary Maydew, but into the outside wall. It's going to be the 12. Falling backwards is Andrew St. Cours, as the field up front still side by side for now. But that 6 machine of Kevin Thompson, he is one of the very few drivers that looks like willing to go 3 wide. But the outside wall has not been his friend this evening. How many times is he willing to risk going up high? Is Handyman gonna be shoving it down the center? The 38 got a huge run and now is cracking his way into the top 10.
Up the middle we go. I guess these guys are feeling like they need to make passes, and 2 wide's not going to be enough. So Hanneman really sent it up that inside there, but he's going to slide back as he goes down the straightaway, just not having the draft from the lines ahead. So that's made it tough for him, but definitely showing that 3 lanes are available.
They are available, but how many times are you willing to risk going side by side? And at 38 is muscling his way forward and finally will slot into 10th place. His drivers picking and choosing, where do you go? Adam Gardner, as well as Kevin Thompson, now going to be the tail end of this group, as a few drivers are able to get back out on track of Eric Anderson and Eric Warman, but they're running on the apron, just logging laps at this point, hoping for another big one to strike as Thompson close to the outside wall again.
Very, very close. These guys are really flirting with disaster in 3 and 4, in my opinion. You know, they get close in 1 and 2, but 1 and 2 with the angle of the entry, it really helps the corner not be as tight. The angle of the entry down here in 3 and 4, you get into the corner, it feels good, and all of a sudden you get to the center of the corner, it gets very, very tight quickly. But I've seen a lot of people wash up towards those green walls right in the center of the corner.
But watch out for this back group, because it is Twisted Axle that dominated Daytona. They're getting in line, and I'm curious if they're just going to force the issue down the middle as a whole group. Do they all go to the outside? They're setting something up here, as you've got the 6, the 56, and the 19 all waiting and looming just outside of the top 10, as up front still going to be Chris Leftwich leading this race. When do you make that power move, or is it too soon? As a few drivers have shown they're willing to make 3 wide moves if they see an opening or they're tired of running around the same drivers. But up front, it's still the 8, just holding steady.
I think even sometimes 3 wide moves by accident. Even sometimes you just can't keep your car in a lane, and then the next thing you know it, you're 3 wide because someone's stuck their nose in behind you because you couldn't keep your car in that lane that you were in. So it's tough. And not only that, we talk about the handling of the cars, but the dirty air behind one of these cars. When you're just tucked up behind someone like this we see here in the 6th machine of Kevin Thompson, you're not only handling bad because of tire wear and such as be going longer into this run, but also you're right directly behind someone's wake of their car, and that can make the handling very, very bad also, and make that nose just want to wash away.
Driver not happy is going to be Justin McMahon, sent to the outside wall after a bad bump from the 14 of Dumont. Now the 24 is going to have to settle from being a part of that lead pack down to the tail end, all the way back to 24th instead of being around 18th. As drivers up front, so you see a little bit more spacing going on, but you have to be careful, as watch out for that green and black machine. Simon almost got a bad bump off the exit with Hanneman. Each driver, with their exit out of the corner, some are getting better runs than others, and that, running over the driver in front, you gotta be careful with those types of runs. As once again a non-wanted 3 wide action as you hop on board with gonna be the 9 machine. Bonomo just been settling. I think this is probably the safest place we've seen the 9 all race, but for how long is it gonna be safe?
That's very true. And if you're gonna be having want to be up in the front pack really riding and try to be safe anywhere, in my opinion, if anywhere, you want to be really kind of where Steven is here, about 3rd, 4th in that bottom line. And really the reason is for that, you just have way more options when a wreck happens. When you're up in that top groove, you have cars below you, so that they kind of are the fence, I can say, that kind of blocks you in. Then you got an outside wall there. But when you're on this inside line, you got all that space to the inside available to yourself. So in my opinion, it gives you a little bit better exit route. So good job by Bonomo. Right here is a ride on board. And another thing, even our producers pointed out, we're in the 4th gear, Sam, and that's just showing right there. These setups again, once again, it just matters how you gear it out. Is that 3 wide was very close.
It got very close. We saw the pinching action as everyone got very uncomfortable as Raymond Handyman gets into the outside wall, drifts backwards. But yeah, the pointing, of our producer Robert Williams Jr. pointing out, seeing each driver in 4th gear, how many drivers have decided to change up their gear ratio with an open setup. You can decide, is a 4th gear setup what you're wanting to work with? Do you want to move up to 5th gear? You have those choices in changing up, which, speaking of changing things up, where does the lap car go? Is Mike Leftwich, who's just in cruise control, aiming for the apron, allowing this field to drive on by. Just way too damaged, way too slow. 60 just continues to putter around as the field has moved up to the outside lane. It is just take off and go. Slot yourself in line and hope that train can move you forward.
That's what it's looking like here from now, as the outside line has definitely been very good, as But looking back here, Christopher Norris, he's actually 3 laps down after that disconnection issue. Had to like come back into the server and reconnect. He's ahead of the guys that are about in the 20th position, about 5 seconds back from our leaders. So not a bad place to be, in my opinion, Sam, if you're a lap car like this. Kind of just riding with one of these second packs here, making laps, trying to maybe hopefully get those laps back with that lucky dog.
Hoping to get that lucky dog. Needs to get by also Mike Leftwich a few more times, as seeing some drivers not wanting to be patient and work together, instead making some power moves on the outside. It's Justin McMahon, but oh boy, they're wrecking up front in front of them. This pack's starting to close in, and it's going to be the 10 machine in the grass as well as the 50. As the field goes on by, it's going to be Steve Gerber with some issues for the 10.
That's right, and it started right with that 10 machine. That was the first bit of contact, but it necessarily wasn't the start of really where the incident was. It was more, caused by a car farther up the way, getting into the outside walls. I think we'll get to see here once we get our replay all queued up. As you can see him in this inside grass here. This is after the incident's played out, but we'll see here from Steve Gerber. You're going to see those cars up in that outside lane get up into that wall. I think that was Gary Kloon, actually. And it's going to cause this massive checkup. There's Hanneman in front of the 10, and that's where that contact comes in, Sam, and that's what brings out the shallow.
It was a very awkward just spin, and also contact of Hanneman and the 10 of Gerber as they were coming down low. Contact was made. We'll bring out another caution here tonight. When we look back at the past of these races, again, this is the 4th time running at Atlanta in the last 3 years that this league has been running, which each year they've had anywhere from 3 to 2 seasons ran, and the cautions have been fluctuant. The most cautions they had was their first season being ran. That was back in 2022 season 2, had 5 total cautions, and then in 2023 season 1 they had 1 caution, and then last season a total of 3 cautions at this racetrack. Already have gotten there, and we're just about to crack lap 50 when we go back to green flag racing. So this field already gained a sense that tire wear, running into one another, the chain reactions, it's turning tonight into a rough one, and a chance of getting caught up in some messes that you don't really want to be a part of.
That really is, man. This, that's not a surprise for me, though. You got a big field here tonight, 34 cars out here. That's just, that's a lot of cars on a smaller surface here, in my opinion, for a super speedway style race. So I expected a little bit of carnage, and we've had some really great racing so far. It's just when those small mistakes happen, it's usually the accordion effect, such as someone get into the wall like we've seen, and all it takes, and boom, next thing you know, everybody's involved in an incident, and you got people considering whether they need to take tires or not. And I think you're going to see some strategy when it comes down later in this race because of all these cautions.
We also have an incident under pacing. Drivers were heading into pit road, and it looks to be maybe a mechanical issue going on with Matthew Campbell. He had to lock it down right before they went into pit entry, which caused a chain reaction of other drivers making contact. Huge damage collected was Gary Maydew and Atwood making contact with one another, as they both had to come into pit road and use a little bit extra time getting repairs done. An odd situation as we get ourselves prepared to go back to green.
Very, very odd. And I mean, huge hit for Atwood, who I don't know if he just thought he needed to get up the racetrack in front of Maydew when I went back and looked at it, but that was a very, very odd situation for sure. And especially for Campbell, who probably most likely something mechanical there. It had to be. So very, very interesting. But man, this is going to be a while, but looks like we got Bill Gentry leading the field. Now we'll get to see how this restart goes here, Sam.
Bill Gentry going to be on the older tires. He's on 20-lap old tires. He already came into pit road a couple of times trying to get repairs done for his first incident, part of caution number 1. We got back at lap 14. But here tonight, ready to get back to green flag racing. Thank you so much for joining with us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Thursday night. You're watching the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series on Thursday night, the 2024 Season 1, Race 3. The Autism Speaks 185 is back underway into the restart zone. It's going to be Bill Gentry, Chris Leftwich, going to be your front 2 drivers. Working on the outside lane. Watch out for that 98 machine. Jamie Horn trying to move forward, but the rest of the field looks like they might have been stuck in the wrong gear. They did not take off with our top 4.
They did not, man. I tell you, even farther back, there was a few guys had some issues, but Bill Gentry here with this lead did not pit Sam on that last pit stop. 21 laps on those tires. We'll see what the difference is here with all these drivers on brand new sets.
Chris Leftwich getting a huge push from the 91 of Jonathan Jennings, and oh, big wiggles on the outside as Gentry holds steady. But Jennings, watch out for this inside row. There are some fast drivers working there, and one of them is the 12 of Andrew St. Cours. He is moving as the chain reaction goes backwards on the outside. Drivers are really having to check up there, and it's just giving a huge momentum to Forest No Help, and everybody slots moving forward.
Everybody moving forward for sure. We'll see how long Bill Gentry can hold on to really being in this pack here with the older tires. Will it become a factor, or will he just be able to hang on? This will tell us a lot, I think, here. And we'll see how it works out. As like right now, he's got a driver diving to his inside. That's the 6 of Kevin Thompson, who's going to go to the inside of Core, who thought about it for a moment. That was 3 wide.
I mean, Kevin Thompson has been, we look at Handyman as well as Thompson. I think those two you can mark as our two most biggest, willing to make some big move drivers. The 6 wasn't able to slot in front of Simon. Instead, we'll have to just lead this inside row as everyone else, slight wiggle, bobble. The exit out of turn number 4 onto the front stretch into turn 1. It's still Chris Leftwich up front. This inside row, they've got some momentum and speed to work with. It's just lining up and having the perfect timing off the exit of the corner, while the outside row has been having the better timing and better momentum.
Big side drafts here from a few guys down that back straightaway trying to pull back Kevin Thompson, who we're looking back towards Andrew St. Cours. Has got Jamie Horn right behind him. This inside line trying to go forward, but that outside line doing everything they can do. Sam here to hold them back and pull them away from each other so they don't go pull up to the front group.
One driver very frustrated, calling it a day. It's Gary Maydew. Had an emergency pit stop and has now left the server. It's done. Is the 63. Didn't see any issue really that should have prompted the 63 to call it a night, but aggressively went into pit road, parked in his parking spot, and now is out of the server. That's another driver out of this race, joining the 55 of Ricky in the front. Still going to be the same picture that we've been seeing for a while. Still the 6 of Thompson leading the inside row. Outside is Chris Leftwich, but looking at the rest of the field on some of the bigger movers so far, Adam Gardner's moved up to 6, up 11 spots, but also going to be given a huge note in 12th place. It's the 58 of Nicholas Schell, who was just caught up in that last incident. Oh boy, they're getting 4 wide, keeping it straight. No, they don't. They're wrecking out of 4.
Big time wreck here out of 4, Sam, and they're still piling in. It's like that's Jamie Horn there. Or sorry, not Jamie Horn. Oh, yeah, it was
didn't
close.
lock it down. That's going to be Gary Clune down into the 50 of Machine. Almost comes back up and collects a couple of other drivers. Oh, man, what a mess that one was coming out of 4.
All broke loose right there. And shows you 4 wide. They don't work that way at Atlanta, but you're going to see here down to the corner. Clune up into the wall. Contact from the 23, who is the 34, by the way. And then from there, look at McMahon, nowhere to go. And just others going to start to pile in here.
Just lets it drift, finally locks it down, and contact made. Just hard cut, slight little bummer to see for the 50 Machine, as it's going to be the 38. Raymond Hanneman going to be the driver getting the worst of it. Required damage going to be for the 38 Machine as we right on board with Dow and the 50 Machine.
You see exactly what this looks like, Sam. As you can see that incident happening up ahead. He's going to get woed up here and say, all right, I'm slowing down. I'm all good. And we're going to just cruise through this thing as everybody's wrecking and rolling. And 45 looks straight, and 45 rolls right back in front of him. And like you said, that's unfortunate for the 50 because he had that thing missed. And then just unfortunately, Gary Clune there thinking that he can roll backwards across the track like that. And, probably not seeing the 50 coming does that. And unfortunately, the contact was made.
It's one of those moves that's kind of you can tell it's a sign of a frustrated driver. Is when they try to do a J-turn, when you're going backwards, try to flip it around, get pointed straight and driving forward. But that frustration that a driver could be sensed when they're caught up in a wreck can collect innocent victims like we just saw there. As there'll be another caution added to our total. And as we're on lap 55, closing in on halfway, we're going to actually step aside for ourselves, take our first commercial break of the night. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining with us. This is your current top 5, Kevin Thompson, Andrew St. Cours, as well as Jamie Horn, Adam Gardner, and Steve Gerber are going to be your top 5 currently. You're watching the Autism Speaks 185 here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We'll be back right after this for more Atlanta racing for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series.
They're 5 wide behind the pit.
Oh my, the 5 wide here, this ain't gonna work. They make it last, bumping and banging to the end. They're beating banging for the lead. Sora still with the shot here, coming off a 4. Look at him, that's it.
It's bottom line, here it comes. Oh no, Carter gets wrecked. It's gonna be that Nick Crawford. The 74 gets through somehow, and they just completely demolish one another.
Trinity driving down low, drifting up, trying to be the stealer. Here he comes, Cedric Hunter. He does it, he steals it.
But he somehow drove it into the corner to wreck him.
Oh, they wrecked! They wrecked each other. The top 2 bounced into one another. Just too much of side drifting off of, and they got to be careful. Oh no! The 4 demolishes in the 28. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Thursday night. Drivers for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series are racing at Atlanta Motor Speedway here tonight for the Autism Speaks 185. We've had a quick collection of cautions that have been coming out. A few drivers struggling to stay out of the outside wall. But ultimately, it has been a fun one to watch as the weather conditions for tonight's race. We had 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Track temps a little bit warmer, on the warmer side of 96 degrees. The wind, though, that's a big factor that's been loosening up these vehicles off the exit of the corner. And ultimately here tonight, it's been a fun one overall. Thank you once again for joining with us on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me up the booth is Zach Hall. And as well, Robert Moyer Jr. running the productions in the background as we've had a total of 4 cautions so far here tonight. But the field, there's been some big ones, but ultimately, Zach, I would say the racing's been great, even with all the cautions.
It really has been, Sam. This has been so close, and you can see how close they are right now. It is no surprise because it's been like this all race. But look at this. Adam Gardner in the 56, our Daytona driver who just had dominance throughout that speed weeks. Well, he's here showing up right now in that 56 machine. Let's see what he can do. He's got the 12 also right there, Andrew St. Core with him.
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of twisted axle willing to work with one another. I mean, we got Kevin Thompson, St. Core, as well as Gardner, all in the line on the outside, and we got teammates to work with. It's a safe place to be, but inside row, there's some speed and there's some drivers we haven't talked about a lot here tonight. It's the 7 of Gary Armio that, gotta say, Zach, he was making quite a loud noise at Daytona, willing to make some big moves, but was struggling to hold the line at times, made some other drivers uncomfortable. But the 7 here tonight has been very quiet, under the radar. It's going to be the third car on the inside trying to help this lane go forward.
Sometimes it's what you got to do at Atlanta, man. You know, I was talking about more than anything, got to survive this race to get to the end. And I think that's what a few of these guys out here kind of came in with the MO tonight. You know what? Going to be very easy, very smart here early, and then let this race come to me because we're just past halfway. We're not even, you know, nowhere near the end of this thing. These drivers got a lot of time to figure things out, and if you're in pit lane or have damage, you're not going to have a good shot at winning this thing.
Yeah, and with that knowledge of us just crossing over to halfway, it's huge side drafting there for second place of St. Core on Jennings through 3 and 4 is the fact that these drivers still have one more pit stop to go. They cannot take it from here to the end. So when will you think about making that final pit stop is going to be a big question. As that inside row starting to march forward, but the aggressive side drafting's making me nervous because we know netcode is a factor in sim racing. We've already seen some drivers have some blinking issues here tonight. I'm surprised to see St. Core so confident to side draft with Jennings there.
Yeah, we've seen a few issues for sure, and you know, it's a risk reward thing. You know, you'll take the chances sometimes to gain the reward because you can see how big the reward was. I mean, Jennings, it's gone now. I mean, he's got all the way, you know, his energy and momentum has completely died out. And now look at this outside line. I mean, they've all lined up now, and that's 3 twisted metal cars lined up. Or axle cars, sorry.
The twisted axle is making it work up front. Chris Leftwich looking for a friend to work with, but you're not going to be able to make a pass by 3 vehicles by yourself. The 8 open to work with Jonathan Jennings, the 2 drivers that were leading for the majority of this first half of the race on the outside row. Now they got to give an attempt on the inside. We want to work with one another as slight wiggle and bend, but this front pack a lot smaller than what it was, and you see that second pack far out in the distance being led by the 82 of Matthew Campbell. Those are the drivers that have been caught up in the most recent wrecks and been struggling with damage repairs from 16th on back. This front group, though, slight wiggle and movement, and they somehow keep it together. But those little quick jolts on the front stretch are going to be nerve-wracking to watch out for as this race and tire wear progresses to move forward.
That tri-oval is very tricky, guys. I'll tell you what, that's probably one of the most tricky spots of the track. You know, with the back straightaway, it's straight, very easy to hold the line. You keep the wheel nice and centered. Then you come through 3 and 4, and then you come out of here, and then look, you're going to be hit with this. Pretty much, it's a corner, in my opinion, of a tri-oval, and it's very sharp even, and that's where it causes issues. You know, some people will hit it with a different angle, causes a little bit different lines. That's where you can have issues rear their ugly head here. Because right now, this inside line trying to fight forward with the help of Jennings, pushing this 8 left switch here, but just you can see that outside on the straightaways, it surges so far ahead, but through the corner, how good this inside lane is.
Through the corner, and then off the exit, almost brushing the wall is Kevin Thompson, and that's been the struggle spot from the 6. He's already gotten the wall about 3 or 4 times already here tonight. But up front, willing to continue to get the help from his teammate of St. Core as well as Gardner. Top 3 are teammates from the Twisted Axle team. As this field continues to try to build up the momentum, we got to give a huge shout out to the amazing sponsors that help out here, but hold on a second as drivers are starting to get too close for my liking. That's the 14 of Mark Dumont. This is about the 2nd or 3rd lap in a row. Exit of 4, in the middle of 3 and 4 and onto the exit. That 14 has gotten either super out of control with the rear end or has almost brushed the outside wall.
handling is starting to fade away for a few of these guys. And it's definitely interesting because we've been 17 laps on a lot of these guys' tires and 26 on others. So it's starting to show up maybe that some of these tires here are a little bit more used up than others.
Starting to get a little bit frisky with them. So that means we got to get quick with it with these ad reads. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, again for joining with us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting and for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. I want to say thank you to their primary sponsor, Shoney's, who helps out with a lot of the different leagues ran on the Doghouse Racing League, as well as they want to go check out Shoney's today. Great quality food in the West Virginia area. They've got our open daily for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Remember to go check out their pie selection and go get yourself a whole strawberry pie. Again, Shoney's, delicious food and friendly service since 1947. And as well, I want to give a huge shout out to the Group 6. Group 6 Inc. Rev up your brand's potential with Group 6 at every turn of the Doghouse Racing season. As your creative marketing powerhouse, we're here to fuel up your success, accelerate your impact, and steer your brand towards victory. Group 6, where every race is an opportunity to outshine and outperform. Discover more at group6inc.com to see how Group 6 can help you today. And also, go down in the description of this video if you'd like to help financially with the Shoney's Doghouse Racing League and also just Shoney's Racing Leagues in general. And go get your fan apparel from the sports marketing team and merchandise team, and go get your favorite sporting apparel, jerseys, hardware, and hard goods. That is Fanatics. Fanatics has a commission partnership with the Doghouse Racing League, so everything that you purchase, a little percentage goes to the Doghouse Racing League. And if you're looking to see what sporting apparels they have, well, they're partnered up with NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, NASCAR, MLS, PGA, hundreds of collegiates and professional teams in the global soccer club world. Go check out Fanatics today for your fan merchandise. Thank you again to all the amazing sponsors, and Zach continuing to stay side by side. Pit stop. I think that's going to be the big thing on a lot of these drivers' minds. When do you think about making that pit stop? Do you split this section in half, or do you take it all the way until you run out of fuel?
I think the tough thing about Atlanta, Sam, that a lot of people run into, and I've even felt this situation with myself, is, at Daytona, Talladega, you got a 2.5-mile racetrack. You can come down pit road at those tracks and usually stay on the lead lap while pitting. So that is a huge factor. You kind of somewhat ride it like a road course. So you usually pit when you can make it on fuel. There's a difference here in Atlanta. If you pit here at the Atlanta the Atlanta Motor Speedway, as it is such as a super speedway pretty much, this mile-and-a-half course, you're going to go a lap down. And if the yellow flag comes out then, you're going to have to take the wave around. And then sometimes that can be even a little bit wonky and you can get stuck. So, those situations are ones that you think now, I think, are going to be mostly seeing a lot of these guys get pretty close to, running the tanks out dry just to see if they can catch that caution to get that final stop running out.
And you get the right timing. It's going to be the key, as for a quick moment, maybe Chris Leftwich was going to be able to make the pass for the lead position, able to get side by side, have a nose ahead for a quick moment, but broke loose off the exit of turn 2, killed all the momentum, and now it's build that momentum speed back up. But how many times can Jonathan Jennings do this? Is that 91, a factor we haven't talked about yet, but is a major one at these style of racetracks of super speedway racing and draft racing, is the engine. I'm curious for this 91 machine, how confident is he?
That's a huge factor for sure, Sam, and even those temperatures and just keep them monitored of how well you can push here. I'm not sure how close these guys get to overheating in these next gen cars when it comes to Atlanta, because of just how hard it is to stay fully connected together. Because you see just right there, he pushes them in the corner and he just kind of pushes them away, so to say. So they might not be dealing too much with temperatures such as they would at Daytona and Talladega, but it still could be a huge factor, more or less than anything. It looks like this 91's got this thing pretty hooked up on the inside, because he's able to just shove this 8 and the nose still turns pretty well. And you can see, look at the run they have here, pulling alongside tops.
Pulling alongside, muscling their way forward and trying to be as quick as they can. With these engines roaring, hey, why not get a sense of what it's like? We're going to give you a little bit of a crank it up, get a sense. If you want to hear what these engines are like racing here at Atlanta in the Next Gen Cup cars. That's your sights and sounds here for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series here at Atlanta for the Autism Speaks 185. In this field, they keep it together. But for the quick moment, Zach and I kind of had a heart of stopping seeing those drivers exit out of 4 right when we went to that crank it up section. Zach, I mean, these drivers now, it just completely dissolved, it looked like there. There just wasn't enough confidence to continue to stay side by side. Now we're seeing everyone going back to the top where they are giving a lot more space to one another.
One of our longer runs here tonight, I believe, for a few guys, is the longest distance we've took it on tires. So starting to see a little bit more single file action. Not too surprised by that for myself, but now, as we said, had Jennings and the 8 left was jump back into his core, into the outside wall on the 12, and that checkup almost caused a huge issue. Now he's going to fall into the clutches of the second pack, and Core's going to be trying to get back up here, but he's lost so much momentum, Sam, that it's going to be tough, as now the battle for leads on his left, which is to the inside of Thompson.
Leftwich is able to make the move up to the lead. Not enough spacing to move in front of the 6, but that takes away the helpfulness of having another teammate behind. Now it's just going to be 2 of the Twisted Axle teammates of Kevin Thompson and Adam Gardner working as one on the outside groove. And from working to have a 3-teammate crew to now just a 2, they're a lot weaker on the outside lane, but it's Jamie Horn as well as Mark Dumont. Those 2 drivers willing to go forward, as Horn has just been bouncing back and forth. Whenever there's an opening, that's where the 98 goes, even if that lane's not moving forward.
This is amazing. At one moment, we had all 8-9 cars in line, single file, as this close from them to Leftwich and Gardner to the center of the 4. They're all single filed out. You know, I was talking about, the handling's getting bad, they can't get side by side as easily. Well, they go right back to all side by side once again. So it's kind of just take your attempt. You might have to redo it every now and then or reformulate it, but it seems like that inside line is still firing off.
As the 14 machine, Dumont going forward, trying to help the outside lane as much as they can, and still, again, the aggressive side drafting every time. The second car on the outside trying to hold back an inside row from getting a huge run. It's impressive to watch and see as the laps continue to tick down. Now 31 laps to go here tonight. For some of these drivers, they've been out there for over 44 laps on this stint. For some, it's been 35 laps when you go into pit road, and one driver dropping quickly. It's the 27 of Christopher Simon, as a few drivers got up into that outside wall, had a big spooky moment for themselves.
That's just a common syndrome that we see here. This racetrack is up into that outside wall, into the corner, and it's just, as the run goes on, again, longest run we've had all night, the tires are starting to wear the worst. These guys are starting to lose the handling more and more, and the cars are going to want to start to do that. So I won't be surprised if we get an incident from that exact same situation here at any moment.
This again is the front pack that's starting to split into 2 of our top 9. Going to stay up front, and the driver that's going to be in that buffer zone in the middle it's going to be the 22 of Michael Hayes and Stephen Bonomo that are trying to pull on both groups that once were a group of one for a top 15. Slowly trying to march forward and allow this draft to pull them along, but this field continuing to move forward again. We don't believe they're going to be good on fuel, expecting the pit stop before this race is done. And I'm still trying to eye out when you think about pit stops for this front group. Like we talked about, Zach, it's a tough pit road to get into for one. And two, if you make a pit stop, you might be trapped a lap down from getting back on the lead lap if a caution flag would come out.
That it is, Sam, and I think that's a great point about being a tough pit road also, is we had some contact there between the 98 and the 33 there. Through the center of the corner as Brown got a little bit of a dooring from that 98 horn. Normally here you see down to the inside there, that access road for NASCAR, the way they regulated, you have to enter there in turn 3. But here in iRacing, that pit road entry is still the original pit entry straight onto pit road off of turn 4. So that right there makes things very interesting because we're in a pack. If you have to pit, you're going to have to be letting people know that, hey, you're going to have to get out from behind me, because if you're stuck behind someone and they pit, you're either going to run them over or have to slow down so much that you lose any hope of keeping up with this pack you're in.
There's a big moment there. Chris Leftwich gives a bump to the 91, not recognizing that the 33 of Kevin Brown was tiptoeing back and forth on the outside and inside row. They keep together the apron, friend to the 91 machine. It's moving forward. You got to give kudos to the 12 of Andrew St. Course. He went from all the way back to 11th place, is now up to 4th, and trying to get back in line with his teammates to work as one up front with the top 2.
See how this works together. He did a great job to get up here. Can he get ahead of his teammates even, and cause them to be a 3-man group once again? As we'll see what Gardner will do. The outside line checking up heavy. I'm wondering if Gardner are trying to get him in. Wrecking.
They're wrecking behind. It's Kevin Brown as well as the 27 assignment, and they got to be careful. Second pack is flying towards them. Luckily, they had enough time. It was about 8 seconds back, so second pack could slow down. But Kevin Brown, first driver to get into the outside wall, and it looked like a miscommunication of where drivers wanted to be to avoid that incident.
That it was. That outside line stacked up. The 33 of Brown went to the outside of the 14 of Dumont. I think Dumont had a little bit of a checkup himself, had to go to the outside, and that caused that stack up. And then farther behind that, Simon and the 27 got involved, and we'll get to see, I think, exactly how it all played out. But just, one little incident and one stack up can lead to 3-4 other incidents that finally lead to that caution.
Yeah, the other driver that's going to be caught up in this is going to be the 9 of Stephen Bonomo. But watch out here through the tri-oval. Just trying to make a move on the outside. Slight contact, goes to the outside wall, punch, tapped. And with all the chain reaction, it's going to be the 27 of Simon and then this 9 of Bonomo that gets the worst of it.
That it was, Simon was on the inside of Bonomo going into 1, and I think the 9 was seeing the car up top wrecking and was trying to get low. Unfortunately, he turned Simon across the nose, and great job by, I don't know what car that was.
It was a 7, I believe, of Armio.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was a great job by him not to get involved in that.
You can see what it's like when there is a smoke screen in front of you. You hold the brake, trust that you'll make it through, and luckily does. As the second pack that was closing in on this group is so far back they had enough time to react. But they're riding on board the 7 of Gary Armio here. Seeing the driver coming on down, you're just trusting, please get far enough to the bottom and able to go on by is Armio. An only driver with required damage was going to be the 9 of Stephen Bonomo, who has already gotten the damage repaired, but going to be trapped 1 lap down is the 9 machine, as well as Gary Clune going to be trapped 1 lap down after getting repairs done, leaving us with a total of 22 drivers on the lead lap for this restart. As majority of the drivers decided to come into pit road, get service done, except for 1. Chris Leftwich stayed out, Zach, and I'm confused by this call by the 8, but maybe you know something that we don't.
Yeah, I don't know. This one's a head scratcher for me even, and I think even for a few guys trying to take the wave, maybe this is gonna be a head scratcher saying, man, why did the 8 not pay here? But maybe he feels like he can make it on fuel. I mean, 43 laps on the stint. We're going to be coming up here to 20 to go soon. I wouldn't put it out of the realm of him being able to make it on fuel, but the fuel is not my biggest concern. My biggest concern, tires, definitely for him, especially when I see a 9.6 second pit stop. That probably tells me he only took 2 last time.
We don't have the numbers exactly on tire sets that drivers have left in their pit stop. As I know, for tonight, a lot of drivers have been swapping back and forth on fuel-only stops for some, 2 tires on a different stop, 4 for others. I know a majority of the field just took their last set of tires and fuel on this pit stop. But Chris Leftwich, it was his 3rd stop that he had 44 laps ago. I mean, maybe, Zach, he accidentally made the mistake and accidentally used up all his set of tires.
It's very possible. I think, personally looking at it, it is possible. I mean, he's sitting at 3 pit stops already, so he could have just been on his last set and said, you know what, I can make it on fuel and I don't have a set of tires. I got to at least keep the track position I have. But this does scare me, especially for him, because when you look at the lap times even, they were definitely starting to fall away from what they can run. I mean, it was almost a second of fall off there. So we'll see how well he can hold on. This could cause a little bit of a log jam here in our middle of our pack.
Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a good one to watch out for. Going to be starting lap 100 of the Autism Speaks 185 here tonight. 3rd race of the season for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series, our 2nd super speedway type racetrack of the season. This one's been a fun one to watch from start to finish as we are back to green flag racing. Chris Leftwich gets a good launch. Adam Gardner does not want to take off. Main reason why, he wants to get in line with his teammate, allowing them all to get in line on the outside row. And here we go. Chris Leftwich, the sitting duck, as the rest of the field ramps up to speed.
This run these guys are going to have on Leftwich is going to be amazing here, Sam. Down the back straightaway, led by St. Cor. Here comes the push from Twisted Axle. It's going to be Kevin Thompson and Adam Gardner and Andrew St. Cor coming with a good head of steam here. Is Chris Leftwich going to have the 91 coming up to him, but as soon as they get up to speed, I think that 8's going to start to struggle.
And a frustration moment maybe for the rest of the field, because Twisted Axle is all in line once again. Back to 3 in line and almost contact with Leftwich and Gardner as they go through turn 1. Apologies given from Gardner to Leftwich, but Leftwich to the inside row. And Zach, this is going to be a tough spot. Inside lane, older tires, especially with the speeds that we're expecting these drivers to get up to now with fresh rubber. It's going to be tight for the 8 right now.
I have no clue how that car is sticking right now. Everybody is so stacked up behind him, and somehow it put good speed through the center of the corner there in 3 and 4. But I think it's going to become more of an issue once the tires begin to start to heat back up. They cooled down a little bit from that caution. They probably got some life in them. But as they heat back up, that's going to show up, and you can see that inside lane really struggling. Anybody in there needs to get out of there.
And they are seeing some movement of drivers getting back in the fight. And here's one that we haven't talked about since the first, I would say, 14 laps of this race. It's Matthew R.D. Campbell back in the fight, cracking the top 5 on the outside. It's the 82. Also another driver, Joe McKnight, one of our biggest movers so far in the 51. Where do they want to place themselves? Michael Hayes in the 22, trying to become the leader of the inside row with Mark Dumont. Those drivers starting to check up on the outside lane. Got to be careful here through the center as Horn almost brushing the outside wall.
Very close to that outside wall for Horn, but he's going to keep it out of there. Same with McKnight coming off of 4, and even farther back to 7, Agari Armio into the outside walls. He's going to bounce off it and make some contact with that outside green wall. So great job gathering it back up, but you can see Jennings there in the 91. He does not want to run that 8 anymore.
17 laps to go, and everyone that was further on back, who maybe has been spending all race getting their damage repair, back in the fight. Harrison Whitehead inside of the top 10. Into the outside wall, though, is the 8 of Leftwich. Other drivers making contact. It's going to be the 50 into the 2 as they continue to push forward. Somehow, they keep it straight, but there are a couple of contacts there. If they were at the wrong quarter panel, we're going to be seeing another big one. But Leftwich somehow finds the speed and continues to stay with the lead pack.
That he does. He's doing a good job of hanging on, and I wasn't too surprised to see him hit the outside wall in 3 and 4 when he pulled up high. Just so much more of a tighter, just a tighter line up there, so it makes that car really want to push, and that seems like that was the issue for him here as he runs back up to the end of this field as Andrew St. Cor and Kevin Thompson trading the lead.
Trade in the lead back and forth, trying to get in line. A couple of drivers having to back off as the outside row had a chain reaction that causing drivers to lose some momentum and speed. Right on the back bumper, we ride on board with the 82 of Matthew Campbell. Debut race for this 82 machine. And he made a lot of noise in that first 14 laps of this race and then fell back at this moment. He's got to figure out how to get by these teammates in front of him, because Twisted Axle is going to be the toughest group to get by unless you force one of them to make a mistake of getting into that outside wall.
Completely agree with you, Sam. It's going to be very, very tough for these guys, but to get past them. And Campbell's had something, though. He has had the ability to lead tonight. Let's see if he can push himself far enough here to clear this inside line. I would not be surprised to see this 82 jump down low.
Jump down low, maybe you play a little bit of dirty games, get into the driver ahead of you. That'd be Gardner, who, do a little bit of breaking rule 1 of super speedway type racing, push the pusher. That could be another opportunity to maybe give you a chance to get rolling as these drivers get on top of one another. 13 laps to go, gonna be 12 when they cross the line. And everyone's just setting up for those last couple of opportunities. But I got a feeling, Zach, if you want to beat Twisted Axle, you need to start setting up the move now and split up those top 3.
I agree, Sam. You need to get them away from each other, because when they have 3 cars like that, it's just so many options available. 2 cars is enough to really make it tough to pass, but when you have 3, it can block all 3 lanes personally, and that can have issues. Here comes Horn with the big run. He saw the stack up from the outside line, and he took his opportunity to the bottom.
Took it to the bottom, but just like you saw, he wasn't able to really make any moves, and he's actually going to lose positions from where he originally was at with that huge run. Just needs more help. You cannot afford to try to make a pass by yourself. You may be able to get by 1, maybe 2 drivers, but ultimately Horn went from a challenger, trying to move up to 3rd, to now almost outside of the top 10. There's another driver to drop down low. That's Jonathan Jennings, hoping to pull along the 98 machine of Horn. See what noise they can make with 10 laps to go here tonight.
See if anybody has anything. Like you said, Jennings leading that inside line, Horn on the back bumper. I think this is going to give the inside line its best shot. We've seen how fast the 91's been all night. Let's see if he can use that strength here on the bottom here to get the push from the drivers behind.
A little bit of a scare for drivers further on back, as that was going to be Nicholas Atwood and Christopher Simon, who's going to lose touch to the lead pack. But up front, still going to be Kevin Thompson, Adam St. Cyr, and Adam Gardner. If you look at the past trends, 9 laps to go, but it's been the last 2 races here at Atlanta for this configuration of this track, where it's been the driver making a last lap pass and only leading 1 lap during that race to win. It was going to be Daniel Wilkerson, who's just outside the top 10 right now. And then 3 seasons ago, that's Jacob B. Rivals, who's going to be the other driver that found himself getting into victory lane for that race, just leading 1 lap. It's possible that these teammates that are dominating right now, when it comes down to that white flag, they might not be the winners at the end of the day.
It very well could not. It could end up being not that way. So right now the inside lane is pulling closer up. Jennings has been running some quick times down low. Let's see if they can continue to make headway. Like you said, can someone get up here and separate this group? Because that's going to be tough to even do, because there's really not a hole for them to do it. The best way to do that is if they can get that inside line up there close enough and pull back Gardner off those front 2, they may be able to form a gap in between those front 2.
You gotta get close enough, utilize the side draft, and at this moment, I'm looking at the 3rd car on the inside. That's gonna be Steve Gerber, who is just not close enough to really help out this inside row. They need a little bit more closure and close in on the bubble spot. This driver gonna duck down low. That's gonna be the 34 of Michael Menchaca, who was leading up front at one moment, but no longer has the momentum or speed to do so. Instead, we enter with 6 laps to go, and it's still the 3 drivers up front that dominated almost what felt like the whole entire race to start the season off at Daytona for the Group 6 200. And here tonight, they waited, they sat, and once they got up front, these 3 drivers have been the dominators so far.
They really have been, man. It just shows you what teamwork can do. It really helps a ton when you can have three people committed to each other, lined up as Jennings getting a bad bump, almost losing it, but he's going to save it together as they somehow keep it straight coming off of 2.
Watching to see what other if the back out of the back was going to get a taste of that accordion effect. Instead, they're going to lose all momentum, and it's going to be your top 5 still close to one another. Top 6, I should say. 5th, 7th on back are trying to build up their momentum, and this might be kind of the remedy that they need. Have a big enough gap, have the speed and momentum to maybe try something different. And Bill Gentry, Jamie Horn, Jonathan Jennings, they're going to have a huge run here in the next 2 laps. But do they have enough time to build up this momentum to close up to our top 5?
That's going to be the question. They got to build it up, Sam. They have to do it well. And look at this, Gentry going to the inside here. He's going to pull alongside the 36 at Harrison Whitehead and a little bit of side draft. But can that second group, like you said, being led by Jennings, can they build up the momentum with Wilkerson, a pass winner here also, to have an opportunity to go up here and fight for a lead?
They're going to need a clean path and hope that if someone drops in front of them that they've got a run to work with. Otherwise, this is all set in stone to be Twisted Axel's race as 5, 6 drivers on the outside run. It's going to be Whitehead and Gentry trying to slow down Jonathan Jennings, and that's actually going to be hurting the 91 and others. They don't have enough time. 2 laps to go here tonight, and it's Kevin Thompson, Secor up front. Confident they are to stay up front.
Jennings has not got the help down low, and like you said up top, they're all confident feeling right now as Kevin Thompson leads the way. Andrew St. Croix on the back bumper, Adam Gardner on the attack on 3rd, but here comes a yellow
flag. Yellow flag is out. We're heading to overtime, and it's trouble for the 15 of Eddie Rivers, and as well going to be contact with Chris Leftwich as drivers pinched one another in the second pack. And it sends us into overtime where we only have one attempt at it. Oh boy, Zach, this is the incident that makes everything a little more complicated on this next restart.
That it really does here. You see already a little bit of beating and banging coming off of turn 2, but it's going to be this number 15 machine here, Rivers, who's going to look to the outside here, 3 wide down the back straightaway. And he's going to have the 8 machine, Chris Leftwich, through the middle, and Leftwich is just going to go down into the 42 there, who was on the red line, and kind of cause those two to bounce off each other up into the 15.
Yeah, just small contact, got squeezed, and just like that, drivers are heading to pit road for Chris Leftwich. Heavy damage for himself. Also going to get damages Eddie Rivers that we haven't really talked about here tonight. And now it's time for the drivers up front. How do you stack up, resettle for this one? You're not expecting anyone to come into pit road and get service done. But what type of moves do you try to make if you're Jamie Horn, Campbell? You don't have very long to make a move because this is going to be our one and only attempt at overtime. When we go green, if we get a caution on this first lap, this race will finish under yellow. But if we get the white flag, this race is all about who crosses the line first. And I don't know if those drivers behind our top 3 really have enough time to build the momentum to have a shot for a pass.
It's going to be the huge question for sure. And, we've seen the Twisted Axle group also, at Daytona not fight each other. They were very willing to stay in line and push each other to the end. And right here with this restart happening, they're going to be in the first 3 positionings. I would not be surprised if we see someone like, Thompson here start on the outside lane, maybe get a little bit of a jump down in front of them, or even, try a little bit of a different restart where they can get them all 3 lined up. That's pretty much, I think, going to be their goal. But if you're someone like Jamie Horn, Matthew Campbell, Joe McKnight right behind this, you cannot let them play games in the restart zone. You got to be able to take advantage of any games.
I know we got a lot of people in the chat. They've been rooting for different teams, hoping for the best. I know for B-Mac, he's excited for Twisted Axle, being up front, leading the charge at this moment. Who else are y'all that are watching right now and have the ability to chat? Who are you rooting for this final restart of the night to figure out who's going to win the Autism Speaks 185 this evening? I mean, it's pretty easy to pick. Twisted Axle dominated at Daytona. You were expected to be the favorites coming into another super speedway type track, but who else could try to make a move for these drivers up front? I mean, Zach, if you had to pick one driver, I think I'd probably pick that 82 to be my surprise pick to steal the show.
I kind of like that one too, Sam. I think Horn, though, you got to watch for him. I think this 98, he was the first one to make the move to the inside there coming to that white. I think he's going to be a driver looking to make something happen. And if, say, you have Kevin Thompson jump this restart just a little bit to try to get down with his teammates, Horn, if he can roll this right with the 51, they may have the momentum going into one.
We got people root for Kevin Thompson, others open for Andrew, some wanting to see who could be the surprise winner. Let's find out. The final restart of the night for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. The Autism Speaks 185 overtime attempt is underway. Green flag is out. If we get the white flag, we race to the end. If we get a caution, this race is done. And it's Kevin Thompson dropping down low with his teammates. All of Twisted Axles on the inside lane. Jamie Horn by himself trying to go forward, but there's just no help for the 98.
No help on that outside line, but here comes McKnight along with Jennings. Will they have some momentum down the back straightaway? Looks like the block's coming from Twisted Axle, and they will cover it off down the back straightaway into 3.
Horn's going to drop down low, trying to get the help from another driver, but once again, Jamie Horn just continues to make moves, all on the lonesome of the 98 machine. Exit at turn 4. We stay green. It's going to be your top around 10 that have a chance if they start wrecking up front, but Twisted Axle is all ahead at the moment as your white flag is in the air.
Will anybody have anything when it comes off of 2? Right now, Core sitting in the best position. He backs up to the teammate of Gardner, but the momentum is not there. They're not flying down the back straightaway. Here comes Horn as the wrecking behind.
It's Calamity going into turn number 3. Jamie Horn, also going to be Kevin Thompson as they exit out of turn number 4. Where does the 98 place himself? The 6 defends low, down onto the apron. Horn across the line. It's close, but it's Kevin Thompson stealing it by 23 one-thousandths of a second.
What a job by Thompson there. Didn't make too big of a move to block off the 98. Just covered off the runs, and he was able to hold on to the line as Horn just coming up short of that victory. But Thompson is going to be the winner.
Kevin Thompson up front. You think back to the start of this race, those first 40 laps were rough for the 6 machine. He couldn't find a way to get off the outside wall. Finally got collected with his teammates. They slowly, methodically moved forward, dominated, and at the end of the day, his teammates might be long gone and lost, but the 6 stayed strong and gets the victory for Twisted Axle, and Kevin Thompson is back into victory lane. Congratulations to the 6 machine. I mean, Jamie Horn tried their best, just not close enough, and stealing away 3rd, able to sneak his way through all the madness. It's going to be Joe McKnight, able to move forward. One of the drivers that decided not to qualify, didn't matter. 51 gets 3rd. For us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, enjoy the burnouts. We'll be back right after this for the post-race show of the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. Race number 3 is in the books as we head down to Victory Lane to go talk to Kevin Thompson, the winner of the Autism Speaks 185. Kevin, it's Sam and Zach up in the booth. Congratulations on your win. Man, how are you feeling after that dominant performance on that second half of the race?
I'm excited. This is my home track. I finally won here. Went to the race Sunday, watched the real drivers, and got a little bit of tips from them, and just brung it here Thursday night, and just had a great time. And I want to thank my whole my teammates at Twisted Axle, for pushing me there for the win.
Definitely great teamwork there from you guys there, Kevin. So congrats on the win, man. I know it's always fun to get a hometown win like that. And, take us through it early, though, because you were one of the first people we've seen up into the wall there early. How was that recovery drive for you?
Oh, my left hand hurts so bad right now. It gets really tight in traffic. I just had to pass one car at a time, and through the pit stops, just make up spots and get to the front.
I mean, that's certainly what yourself and your team did. Made yourself to the front. I mean, a great job winning here tonight. How much confidence does this help you and your team moving forward, as we've got Las Vegas coming up next week, and then Phoenix and Auto Club as our next 3 races?
Yeah, Las Vegas, we got another good set there. The team's been working on, and we will be ready for Las Vegas. The other ones, the short tracks, we got to do some work on. I'm not really good at short tracks, but we'll get together and work as a team and build something for the short tracks and get better at it.
Well, once again, Kevin, congratulations on this win. And before we officially let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Shout out to my whole team for working together really well. Daniel for putting us on. Y'all putting on a really great broadcast each week. And after last week, Iowa, I will take this win.
Certainly will. That is going to be your winner here tonight for the Autism Speaks 185. Kevin Thompson in the 6 machine gets it done. Congratulations, Kevin, and good luck next week at Las Vegas.
Thank you.
As we head down from Victory Lane, we go to second place for a driver that was risking it all at moments, but never found the help that was needed at the end. Coming up shy, it's Jamie Horn in the 98 machine. Jamie, a great chance to go for the win there late when you saw everyone else wreck, and it was just yourself in the 6. Got up shy, but man, how are you feeling after your performance here this evening?
I'm feeling pretty good. I was telling Kevin a second ago, I'm glad I did not make the pass under him. I forgot not to go under the double line there. It's like, well, thankfully that didn't work out.
Well, that's it. That's a great thing that you actually did end up getting the victory.
The only time I'd be happy to say I didn't get the victory, but I'm glad I didn't.
That definitely would have been interesting. But I mean, take us through your night though, Jamie, man, because you definitely worked your way through the field multiple times. We've seen you having to come back and forth. So how tough was it, and what do you feel like made your success tonight?
It was definitely tough trying to navigate through traffic, and I mean, you could get a good run, you just couldn't go anywhere with it. And me and Jonathan got hooked up there for a while, and we were making as much ground as we could, and then we kind of stalled out. But my car was pretty fast tonight, so I was pretty happy with it. We're new to this open setup league, so I'm still learning, but I think we're making some good progress, and had a rough last couple of weeks, so a second tonight is like a win to me.
Yeah, I mean, certainly a positive that you can take from tonight is this being your best finish so far this season. We're heading towards Las Vegas, Phoenix, Auto Club, 3 very different racetracks. What's your confidence level heading to those 3?
Pretty confident in Las Vegas. It's a track I'm usually pretty good at, so I'm ready to go there. And Phoenix, I might have to do some work on.
Well, it sounds like everyone's going to have fun working on those setups, especially with the Open Setup League. It's new for you, new for us, but it's been a pleasure to watch all the great racing action. But Jamie, before we officially let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
I want to say thanks to Daniel for putting on the league. It's a great league. I'm having a blast in it. And shout out to my team at Graybeard Racing that we're learning and making progress. And then last but not least, my mom, she's out there watching and watches every night. So shout out to her, and thank y'all for everything.
Well, thank you for giving us a great show to cover. That's going to be the 98 machine of Jamie Horn. Best finish so far this season. Second place here at Atlanta. Congratulations and good luck next week at Las Vegas.
And thank you. Y'all have a good night.
You too. As we move away from second place, we go down to third, where we're going to be trying to talk to, we were going to talk to Joe McKnight, but it looks like Joe McKnight has taken off. So instead, we're actually going to go down to our spotlight driver, fourth place finisher, going to be in the 36 machine of Harrison Whitehead is going to be our spotlight driver here tonight. Had to have a great recovery run, was quick in the beginning portions of this race, but had to work hard to get forward. Harrison, it's Sam and Zach up in the booth. Congratulations on fourth. How are you feeling after a roller coaster type of a day?
Oh, thanks, guys. Pretty good. I'd never expected to finish fourth after hitting the wall there on lap, what was it, like lap 11, 12, something like that. I had like 4 minutes of damage, just worked through the repairs throughout the race, and then luckily that wreck at the end, somehow I was able to get through it and finish fourth.
Harrison, you did a good job to recover for that 4 minutes of damage, man. And we've seen that common syndrome of people getting up into that outside wall there in 3 and 4 all night. Kind of tells how difficult it was to follow people up there.
Yeah, it really was. It felt like the arrow would just kind of push you up there. If you got a little bit off-centered with them on the right, it would just suck you up into that wall. So you really had to like run lower off the left side of his bumper a lot. And that kind of helped it, but had to figure that one out the hard way, which sucked. But glad we were able to recover from it.
I mean, Harrison, early in the season, still for everyone in the league. How are you feeling for this race here tonight for yourself and moving forward, going to Las Vegas, Phoenix, and Auto Club in our next 3 races?
Pretty good. This is the momentum I needed. I missed the Daytona race. I had some internet trouble, wasn't able to, had to take a start and park there. Iowa was a difficult track. We're making our own setups as a street limit, so it was tough to get a setup there that could compete. Those guys are just so quick there. And hopefully now with some of these tracks like Las Vegas and Phoenix, we have some good setups for Phoenix, so I think we could be competitive there. Las Vegas, I think it can kind of be anyone's race there too. So hopefully these next couple tracks kind of play into our strong suit a little bit, and we can have success.
Well, we're hoping for the best for you, Harrison, and your team. But before we officially let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
I'd like to thank Street Limit for putting a great car together. We had a great setup. I'd like to thank Coors Light for giving me the power to race tonight, and our team owner Raymond Hanneman for getting us organized and having a good game plan.
Well, that is going to be your 4th place finisher here tonight in the 36 machine of Harrison Whitehead. Congratulations on a 4th place finish, Harrison, and good luck next week at Las Vegas.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Well, as we move away from talking to our drivers, again, we were going to talk to Joe McKnight, but he stepped away, not able to talk to 3rd place finisher. But still, one of our biggest movers was that 51 of Joe McKnight. As we take a look unofficially at our results here tonight, I mean, Zach, a crazy wreck at the end. We knew that was going to come out, and it shook a lot of things up from about 3rd on back. But our top 2 were the drivers that were fighting for the win of Kevin Thompson and Jamie Horn. Like Horn said, if he had made that pass, probably would have been in some trouble. Weren't able to make passes below that red line with Joe McKnight in 3rd. Harrison Whitehead takes 4th, with Michael Hayes taking 5th. Caught up in an incident earlier in the race as well for the 22. He'll take a top 5. Nicholas Schell comes away in 6th with Justin McMahon, who also had kind of a rough start to the night. Finished in 7th. With Michael Dow going to be in 8th. Nicholas Atwood 9th. And shot our top 10. It's where we find the 91 of Jonathan Jennings.
And it was looked farther through the list. Some of these names started to stick out to me, such as in 15th, Andrew St. Cor there, 2nd place going into that white flag lap. Matthew Campbell up there in 17th. He was right there. Same with Daniel Wilkerson, Adam Gardner back in 21st. A lot of those guys involved in that last lap incident there and got tons of spots lost. So tough break for a few, but that just is how Atlanta plays out. I mean, we've seen it before. This place is never over till you cross the finish line, and a few of these guys figure that out, that just because you're in a good position on the white flag doesn't mean that's where you're going to come back around to.
Yeah, it certainly does not feel safe until you cross that line for the checkered flag. But certainly some great racing all around. That's going to conclude our week here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, but don't you worry, we'll be back to it next week, as this is our upcoming schedule. Monday night, ISRC Truck Series. They're going to be taking their way from road course racing this past Monday to short track racing at Richmond. There's a couple of drivers that may want to get some revenge as they're starting their 4-race short track madness that they're about to be setting up for. That's going to be a tough 4 weeks in a row that series is ready for on Monday. Then on Tuesday, BRB Racing League, they're heading into their last race of the regular season. Who's making the playoffs on Tuesday night in their next gen fixed setup league? It's a good one to watch. Then on Wednesday, WSSR just concluded their regular season. 16 drivers start their march for the Season 8 championship. Don't want to miss that on Wednesday. And then next week, here on Thursday night, the Doghouse Cup Series. Get prepared as they head to Las Vegas. That's going to be some more pack racing, but tire wear is going to be a big factor as well.
It really will be. I cannot wait for Las Vegas, Sam. You know, I got a little bit of preview of that race for just watching the Coke series, and you know, those guys also on open setups with, you know, the inclusion of these guys, and those setups get aggressive, and when they do, they tend to wear certain tires out. As we're actually getting a look at this final incident here, what exactly happened on the back straightaways. You see guys just coming together late there, involved in that, and major collisions from there as others just piled in late, trying to get through to get the best finish they possibly could. But you know, Las Vegas next week is going to be really fun, even just with the tire wear there. I think you're going to see a lot of sideways action when we get there.
Going to see a lot, as you see the 12 of St. Course just puttering his way forward and still drivers wrecking behind before the 12 finally crosses the line for 15th place. A crazy last lap wreck that allowed the 6, Kevin Thompson, to hold off the hard chargers behind him. Some fun racing overall. Had plenty of wrecks, cautions thrown, and it had to send us into overtime. And certainly one of those races, Zach, that we knew Atlanta was going to bring out, but the rest of this season, it's going to be a fun one. Like we said, Las Vegas next week, expected it to be a good one before they head over to Phoenix and then Auto Club, the next 3 races on the schedule for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. But for tonight, I want to say thank you to everyone that joined with us. Huge shout out to the sponsors that help out for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. That's Shoney's themselves. Again, if you're in the West Virginia area, go check out. There are many different locations, great food that you can collect and grab, as well as to Group 6 Inc. Go over to group6inc.com today to help out your marketing. And then if you want to help out financially to the Shoney's Doghouse Racing League and all the leagues that they cover, go buy some of your best merchandise from Fanatics using the link down in the description. But for tonight, for myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall, for Robert Warrior Jr., and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining with us on your Thursday night. Enjoy your weekend. And for us, we will be back next week for more racing action. Las Vegas is going to be race number 4. Will we see a new winner, or could we see someone get their second win of the season? You'll have to find out. But if you want to get racing action before then, we'll see you on Monday as the drivers of the ISRC Larry Production Truck Series go short track racing at Richmond. That will be our next Freaky Fast broadcast.